welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 144. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I am joined by the other regular host on this podcast in Cracker. How's it going, mate?
Good, thanks, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good. Just the two of us tonight.
Yep. Everyone's scattered to the winds, so just you and I. That's all right. We can talk magic.
Well, I mean, we're the real reason why people listen to this podcast, aren't we? It's the host that attracts the masses.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah. That's what they keep coming back for week in, week out. It's not tangents or dad jokes.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before. I don't really know why people keep coming back to listen to us, but anyway, they do, so thanks.
Yes, we really do appreciate it.
All right, so tonight's episode, we sort of mentioned on last week's podcast that this week we were going to do a standard focus. It's been a very long time since we've really looked into the world of standard, and our next league that's kicking off in just a few days' time is going to be standard. So time to jump back into that world. We've got brand new format, recently had rotation, and there's a lot going in there. So that's going to be the focus for tonight. And just a couple of other quick things to mention on the way through. But before we get into that, Cracker, do you want to shout out our awesome sponsors who gave me a collector box of Dominaria United this week?
I would love to. So Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, if you've ever listened to us, you know that we love these guys and everything they do. They are the sponsors of the Magic Beans podcast and our tournament series. They're a Facebook auction page, and they actually just celebrated their 5th anniversary of the site being up, which was, it's impressive, man. Like I remember joining that really early on, like within probably the first few months of it being up, I think, and I would not have said it was 5 years that it's gone. So
I mean, the last 3 years have just
that's true. They're all just
into 1 year.
No, good point. Good point. But yeah, so Pat did a giveaway for, I think it was 6 collector booster boxes of what was it, MH2?
Nah, Dominaria United.
Dominaria United, of course.
Yep.
And yes, Shorty, you were lucky enough to do one of the actual randomization. Like, you can watch the VOD. It wasn't rigged. Pat wasn't trying to give us product just, for the sake of it. It was a legit win. But they look. Pat lists physical Magic cards every night of the week. There are literally hundreds up every day, and including win it now lots where you can just say mine or sold or whatever you want to say, and you basically just get it at that price. They're always excellent. Because that's all he does is just ships Magic cards to people all over the country. It's excellent. The speed that he does it in, the quality of the service is fantastic. So go check him out, JP MTG Bazaar. And when you do win auctions, please let them know that they've been sent you. And then that'll help you guys with the prizes for our tournament series.
Yep. Very good. So, it was a bit of a surprise to be a winner of one of these boxes. So, Pat has got it in the post already, and I'll be doing a box cracking stream for that when it arrives. But, yeah, that's the sort of thing that they do all the time. There's every new set that comes out, Pat's putting up a giveaway of some sort that's pretty easy to enter, and, just giving away boxes or bundles or commander decks and all sorts of things. So, if
it's usually something really challenging, like what's your favorite memory of the Bazaar or something like that. Like, it's basically just engagement, right? Like, you just got to, type in some comments in a post on Facebook, and that's it.
Very easy. Okay, so before we get into standard Cracker, did you know that there is an arena championship on this weekend?
I sure did.
It's in the show notes. So.
Oh, no. I didn't know before that.
Did you know before you read it in the show notes?
No, I didn't.
Do you remember what an arena championship is?
Yes, I actually did. Like, despite us talking about it before, it's like the premier event. It's like the tippity top of the arena events. It's like the Pro Tour sort of size.
The top of the pyramid when we looked at those pyramids all
exactly.
6 months ago, whatever. Yep.
But yeah, it's super exclusive, invite only event, and you had to qualify through arena. And it's, like you said, it's on this weekend, which I had no idea about, mate. And like, I follow a lot of like Magic pros and personalities and stuff on Twitter, and I haven't seen a single one of them tweet about this at all. I also follow like all of the Wizards accounts on Twitter, and I haven't seen them post anything about this either.
No, they do have a lot of accounts for some reason.
They do.
I never know who to tag when I'm trying to tag things.
Yeah, just all of them, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is basically the arena version of the Pro Tour, and it is the top of that pyramid that we did speak about it. So this is players who have qualified through the arena qualifier weekends. So you know how they've had those play-in weekends? I think there was one last weekend, actually, where you can play, you can enter as many times as you want, and then if you get that, you qualify for a qualifier weekend. There's so many qualifiers in the wording of it all. But that gets you through to the qualifier weekend, and then if you win those or you do really well in those, that's how you qualify for the Arena Championship. So they're very hard to get to. There's like multiple steps you've got to get to get there, and yeah, it's only 32 players, but big prize pool on this one, and a couple of worlds invite as well. So 200 grand prize pool. I think last place is $1,500. So and that's
impressive.
That would be US as well. So that's pretty nice, and yeah. First place, I think first might actually be 100 grand. Like it's a lot. That's and then massive. Getting that Worlds qualification as well, which, you know, the minimum prize payout from Worlds would be quite big as well. So yeah, very, very cool. But yeah, I saw a tweet about this maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, cool, there's an Arena Championship coming up. Oh, it's on like the long weekend for us. Awesome. I'm going to watch coverage all weekend. This is going to be really cool. Followed the link to the detail page, and I'm reading through it going, what format is this? It did not say anywhere. There was there was a couple of links that went to basically nothing, but nowhere did it say what format it was. And then same as you, I'm like, oh, people will be talking about this over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And no one's been talking about it. There's no one's talking about it on podcasts. It was very briefly mentioned by Gabe Nassif on the Midweek Metagame podcast this week, because he's playing in it.
Sure.
And there was like a 30-second mention, and that was it. And the reason why, Cracker, what's the reason why no one's talking about it?
Oh, mate, it's everyone's favourite fake format. It's alchemy. Why?
So it's actually the first 3 rounds are actually Dominaria United draft, but then all the rest of the event and the top 8 is alchemy constructed. So, oh man, no wonder Wizards didn't want to put their format on the website. Like, why would you do it? You've just had rotation.
Yeah,
you've got a brand new standard format, brand new set that's just come out like 3 weeks ago. And then you go with a format that nobody cares about. And the sole reason for alchemy is to be like fixed standard, but you shouldn't need to have fixed standard when you've just had rotation. So
yeah, you just had like all the problematic cards gone. Like he's not even gold span mirrors anymore.
No. So, and the other thing I realized with this is, you know, normally you back in the day you'd watch a Pro Tour and it's like, okay, cool, I'll watch the Pro Tour. Oh yeah, this deck's really cool and these cards are performing and all this sort of stuff, and you get ideas and then that sort of sets the metagame for the next few 100%. Weeks, and then things start to revolve from there or whatever.
GP came up and yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Yep. But alchemy, it's like, okay, oh well, this deck was broken at the Alchemy Arena Championship. Oh, let's just nerf all the cards, and so it's just completely pointless. Like you can get nothing out of it. So, oh dear, good old Wizards.
But
so
like that aside, like the nerfs aside, that just, where's the hype? Like if you want alchemy to be a thing, which apparently maybe they still do, the only way that you can do that is by getting engagement. The only way you get engagement is getting eyeballs on people playing it.
Yeah.
No one streams it. No one plays videos of it, right? Like none of the big Magic content creators dabble in alchemy. They play all the other arena formats, right? Even, you know, historic, which is kind of, you know, dropped off our radar, but I know there's still people that love that, but I just don't hear of anyone playing alchemy ever.
No.
And so like, if you want to drive that forwards and you have a tool to do that and you're like, yes, we're locking it in, we've got 32 the best players, then throw your marketing machine at it. You're a $1 billion company. Like, surely you can spend, if you're giving away $200,000, like at least spend $50 on some flyers, man. Like, I don't get it.
Just put $50 on a Facebook ad.
Seriously, there's like 100 impressions there. You've got an intern who tweets for you. Like, that doesn't cost you anything. Just get them to tweet, you know, couple of times a day.
Yep. So anyway, the coverage,
All
there'll be coverage on all weekend, and it'll be like their usual arena championship event coverage. Like it'll be good coverage. There'll be great commentary, all that sort of stuff. So if you do want to watch some, high quality Magic being played this weekend, then it is there for you. But yeah, unfortunately, the format is just not good, and it would have just been so perfect if it was standard.
The format
this
could
weekend.
be good. Who knows?
Oh, it could be, but I just don't care about it.
Yes,
that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is, and hopefully we will soon have the announcement that the alchemy experiment is over and that format is gone, and all the teams that are working on alchemy cards at Wizards are now working on getting Pioneer on Arena.
Please, let's do that.
Okay, all right. So from a format that no one cares about to a format that, people's caring about it goes up and down depending on how the format is. But I think at the moment it's pretty popular, and that is standard. So as I said before, and as we've mentioned on the podcast recently, we have our league kicking off next week, and we're back to standard. Our last one-day event was Sealed. Our league before that was Explorer, and the one-day event before that was Explorer. So the last time we were into Standard was our Kamigawa League, I think.
Wow.
I think that's right. Yeah, it would have been our Kamigawa League. Yep, because Streets came out in a really weird time and whatever, so that's why we did the,
like a year
Explorer
ago or
League. Almost, no, I don't think it's quite that. It was earlier this year, but
it was like a year ago. Who knows?
It was quite a while ago. So, yeah, we haven't paid a ton of attention to Standard, but we had rotation. We've got new sets. Things are very different to how they were before. So, we're going to run through tonight what's going on in Standard. We're going to actually have a look at individual decks and sort of talk you through what they are, what they're doing, do we think they're good, or all that sort of stuff. And, basically give you a bit of an idea on the Standard metagame at the moment. So, Cracker, I've taken just a screenshot from Untapped, and I don't have the Untapped Premium. I've only got free, so it's just the best of one popularity. But they have a good table there that shows you the win percentages, like today's win percentages for the decks. So you know what's doing really well at the moment, but also the popularity of decks today. So I think that's a really good starting point, because we've got 8 decks there. It gives us basically a snapshot of what are people actually playing in Best of One at the moment. So do you want to just run us through that list and the percentages, and then we'll take it from there?
Yeah, for sure. So number 1 is Mono Black Control at 23.3%. Then we have Selesnya Enchantments at 11.7%. Mono Red at 7.8%. Mono White Aggro at 6.2%. Mono Blue Delver at 5.8%. Gruul Aggro at 5%. Azorius Control at 4.6%. And Esper Midrange at 4.5%. The top 8 for today, apparently.
Yeah. So that's like pretty diverse. So I know we've mentioned on the podcast, plenty of other people have mentioned it on their podcasts, and it's been all over Twitter. When Standard first rotated, what was going on in Standard?
Man, it was just black decks.
Yes.
And like underneath those, like the next few ones down are actually like Esper midrange, Rakdos midrange, Jund, Grixis, Mono Black Aggro. So like rounding out the next stack of 4 or 5 are actually like black based decks. So let's not say that they've disappeared or anything. This is a sample size from today. But yeah, I mean, it was just Sheldreds and Lilianas, right? That was kind of the thing that everyone was wanting to do.
Yeah, very much so. We saw a few tournaments in the first couple of weeks. There was a really big Japanese one, like 700-player Japanese event. And out of the top 200 decks, there was like 6 non-black decks. It was just all either mono-black, Grixis,
Rakdos.
Esper, Rakdos. Like it was just, everything was just black-based. And I think a lot of that was people going, okay, well, we've got Liliana the Veil. Liliana the Veil is a super powerful card. We're going to play that. We're going to play it as a 4-of, and, it probably was a good place to start. And, we had Sheldred, and then you had Cut Down, and so you had, the black side was really good, and then pairing that with red, which was pretty common, you had your Fable of the Mirror Breakers, and we got Lightning Strikes to play those sorts of things. Yeah, Blood Tide Harvester. Yeah, you still had the... why do I always forget the boxer's name? The one that comes back.
Tenacious Underdog?
That's the one. It's a picture of a boxer.
It is.
Yeah, so that was sort of a really good spot to start. And we've come a fair way from that in the last couple of weeks. But there was certainly a period where there was a lot of concern from a lot of people that this was standard for the next few months.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad to say it hasn't panned out that way.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be celebrating too hard because there's still a lot. There's still a lot of black decks around.
Yeah. So, I mean, just sort of looking at that 23% for mono black control, that is a lot for standard. Like, it's actually, that's not. It is a lot, but for standard, it is not a crazy amount. When you're seeing those sorts of percentages in modern, that's when it's a real concern, because modern, typically, the number one decks cap out at like 10 to 15%. So 23% for standard is not crazy, but that is quite a bit. Have you...
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah. Both you and I have been playing quite a bit of standard over the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned about the mono black deck? Do you think it is a problem, or...
I think it's clearly the best. Like, I think, I don't know which version it is, whether it's like mono black or whether it's Esper or something, but I think that shell, like black was probably the best color or one of the best colors coming out of the end of rotation. And, you know, people were just playing a lot of that already. And then they just picked up like a bunch of new tools and it just got stronger. So I think that, yeah, like, is it a problem? I don't think so. Is it very good? Yes. Like, clearly it's excellent. But, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not interested in calling for bans on any of this stuff at the moment.
No.
It feels beatable. Their nut draws are nutty, which is true of, like, a lot of the decks. In fact, I think there are some other decks in this list that have scarier nut draws than mono black does.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's doing that typical mid-range thing. Like, even this, you know, control list in quotes, it just beats down as well. You know, like Tenacious Underdog into Graveyard Trespasser, just, it's a real clock. It can get out of hand really quickly. And, man, the amount of bank busters I've been seeing recently is insane. The Reckoner Bankbuster is like just jumped in popularity, it feels like, in the last couple of weeks, because it just does everything. It's what an excellent card. So
yeah.
What about you? What's your experience with it? Because I know that you and I have been playing like different ends of the spectrum as far as decks and how they fare against these kinds of strategies. So, like, what's your experience with it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've found it can be very strong, and yeah, it's just a deck that is full of very powerful cards, and if it has its good curve, like I've been playing mono red, and if they're on the play and they hit Shieldred on turn 4, it's pretty much game over for me. But then there's also the games where I'm on the play and I have my fast draw, and it's like, yeah, you literally just did nothing. Yeah, you played creatures or you did some things, but I killed you on turn 4 or 5 quite easily. So I haven't played any best of 3, so I can't speak for post sideboard games. But it is just a strong deck, and it's a target. And I know that's something that Chewy always says a lot when we're sort of talking about formats. Is there's no problem with having a best deck in the format. Like, there's a problem when it's 60% of the format and it's like, there's no reason to be playing any other deck, which what we've seen in the past with things like Team Renji and things like that. That's not what we've got here. By having a strong, powerful deck that is a fair chunk of the metagame, then that gives you a target, that gives you something to aim for when you're building your decks. And you need to look at the decks that you're building and go, can my deck beat this? You know, can I beat it post sideboard, or can I beat it at all? And if the answer is no, then you're probably playing a deck that you shouldn't be playing in this current format.
All right, mate, calm down.
Cracker, you should not be playing Delver.
I'm actually not.
You're playing mono blue without Delver.
Yeah, mono blue Delver, less Delver. I think this is actually, like, it's kind of a good deck to have as the best thing.
Yeah, because it's not broken.
No, not at all. It gives you the opportunity. I mean, we're still lacking a little bit, I think, to be able to go under it really effectively. Mono red is close.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's quite there, but it also is keeping these decks honest, right? Like, they have to play to the board early or they will get run over. Yeah. At the same time, there is room for some ramp decks, and, you know, There's the Invocation, the white one, Splendid Invocation, is it? Or
Invoke, whatever.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yep.
Which, like, can go over the top. So I think it's good that, you know, but the flexibility of this is that you can kind of shift it week to week to being like, hey, do I need to be more aggressive? Do I need to be more controlling? Like, you can kind of flex around it. But when clearly the best deck is, like we've seen sometimes those Simic ramp or those Teamer ramp decks that just get really big, but they have a lot of early interaction. Those are really hard to have as like the best deck in the format to me. So I like that this is kind of, you know, here's your choice. You play like a black mid-range, or you try and go like way over the top with Titans and other things, or you're trying to get like way underneath, or you just play a million counterspells.
Yeah. Yeah. So having a mid-range deck as the top deck in the format gives you room to work because, it's exactly like I said, like you become the bigger mid-range deck, which beats the current mid-range deck, and then you play control, which beats all the mid-range decks, but then if control's getting really big, then aggro becomes really good, and you have that really good churn through.
Yeah, the rock, paper, scissors kind of thing.
Yeah, so starting with a mid-range deck that is really strong, but isn't crazy powerful and too strong, is a good place to start in a format. And looking at that list that we started with, you know, you go back 2 weeks where it was Rakdos, Grixis, Esper, Rakdos, Mono Black, like just all black mid-range decks. Mm-hmm. And now you look at this top 8 list and it's Mono Black Control, number 1, but Selesnya Enchantments, Mono Red Aggro, Mono White Aggro, Mono Blue, Gruul Aggro, Control, like Azorius Control, Esper mid-range. Like, it is a really diverse field there where we're starting to see those different strategies actually being able to be played. All right, so let's actually have a look at the list. So we've talked a bit about Mono Black. Do you want to actually sort of run us through the cards that we're seeing in Mono Black?
Yeah, so the list we're looking at here, like we said, is just from, you know, today or the last couple of days on Untapped. It does have 54,000 matches recorded against it. And I guess the reason we use Untapped is it is a really good tool for the most enfranchised people, right? Like, we all have it on our computers. You know, it logs your stats, and then, you know,
it's just not on your phone, though.
It's not on your phone, which is okay, because I lose more on my phone.
Yeah. Well, I only play on my PC when I'm streaming. So
that's fun.
Like, the vast majority of my matches are on my phone, and none of them are counted.
There you go. But this is a good resource because it is just those, like, super enfranchised players. So the list we're looking at here has got a win rate of just over 60%. And like I said, 54,000 matches. And it's got 4 Lilianas, 3 Sorens, 3 Tenacious Underdogs, 4 Graveyard Trespassers, 2 Sheoldreds, a Junji the Midnight Sky, for people who remember that one. That's the black legendary dragon from Kamigawa. And it's got the Dies effect. We've got a Soul Transfer, which I've seen a bit of, actually. There's 4 Invoke Despairs, 4 Cut Downs, 3 Infernal Grasps, 2 Bank Busters, 3 Meathook Massacres, and 26 lands, including a couple of Field of Ruins.
And all those numbers do go up and down. Like, you do see some lists that are only running like 2 Lilianas, but 4 Sorens, or they might be running, 4 Tenacious Underdog, that sort of thing. And that's where that...
Or none of that weird dragon.
Yeah. So that's where the metagame, you're adjusting based on what you think you're going to be seeing and all that sort of stuff. So that's good. That's what we want to see. But yeah, they're almost always running 4 of Invoke Despair, which is really quite powerful. Like, I mean, you look at the mana cost and, it's 1 and 4 black. Like, that's a pretty steep mana cost. But when you're playing mono black, that's not really an issue. And even for some of the other color decks, it's not that much of an issue. But it is a very powerful effect that really does get them back into the game. I'm just glad that it's your opponents lose 2 life rather than them gaining 2 life. If it was, they sack creatures and whatever, and then you gain life, that would be horrible. Because I know with like mono red, you can get them down to a point, and then they invoke you, and it's like, yeah, that's okay, I can still finish them off from here. But if they gained like 4 or 6 life off of it as well, that would not be good.
I mean, let's not make a good card better.
Yeah,
it doesn't need the help.
Yeah. So, like, sort of looking at all the cards that are in it, they're all just strong, powerful cards. You've got some really good removal in Cut Down and Infernal Grasp that can deal with basically everything that's a threat at the moment.
Yep.
Invoke Despair just catches you up big time, as does Meat Hook Massacre. Wipe the board, gain a bunch of life, and deals a bit of damage to your opponent as well. The Bank Busters just, as you said before, kind of do everything.
Just value, man.
Yeah, yep.
That actually feels like the real glue to that deck. I just want to chat about that for a second, because one of the things that it will let them do is play to the board, and I see this quite a lot, where they'll play like an early underdog and, or maybe two, and then like a trespasser, and they just kind of sit behind removal spells, or they'll have a Bankbuster in play. And they don't always crew it, they just use it end of turn, end of your turn, I'll just draw a card, right? And then, or they just, make it into a 4/4 and bash you with that. So like it really does a lot for just kind of smoothing this out, which is something that mono black can historically have issues with. And that's why you've seen cards like Phyrexian Arena and things like that, or, some of those other enchantments we saw. What was the land that you could, I've gone blank on it now, but you could, draw a card and then you lose life equal to the number of cards.
The black Castle Lochthwain.
That's the one, the castle. Yep. Yeah. So like it's filling that role, but at the same time, like it's a big threat in itself. Like it's effectively a 2-mana 4/4, and everything crews it. Like all the creatures in this deck crew the Bankbuster. And eventually, if you're not dead already, then they get to make one of their little, 1/1s, and you're not killing the token because it's the smallest thing that you care about. It's a 1/1 until it crews as a 3/1. So yeah, I think Bankbuster is huge. And obviously like Meat Hook, just being able to catch up and regain all that life and stuff. It's an absolute backbreaker for like mono red and mono white.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like it's playing off the resource denial with Liliana, like forcing, it's like, yep, okay, let's just strip both players of their hands, and then I'm just going to get my card advantage back with Sorin, plussing Sorin and revealing cards. Like, yeah, I'm going to take some life, but I don't care. I'm going to gain that back through various means. Or I'm going to use my Bankbuster to get me some cards back in my hand. So, yeah, just really fights on a bunch of different angles and doesn't really have any weaknesses, I think, is the is the main thing. If you're playing an aggressive deck, you're trying to get in under them quickly, well, they've got a ton of removal. If you're playing a long, slow, grindy deck, well, they're just going to take all the cards out of your hand through various means. And if you're playing a bunch of removal against them, well, they've got recursive threats in Tenacious Underdog and different things like that. And yeah, the soul transfer now able to get cards back from their graveyard. So it's just a strong, powerful deck, and you need to be able to beat this deck. Otherwise, you kind of just going nowhere. So
yeah, and look, I don't think anyone who's played Standard since rotation hasn't run across this. Like I don't see how that's possible anywhere along the ladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is it, and to make it into one of the other decks, you just add a couple of the pain lands and shave a couple of the black spells and add a couple of the other colors, pick your poison, and away you go.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it doesn't even need that. And like the last time we saw a mono black deck be really good, it was like Devotion, and it was really like mono black for a reason. So it had all the black pips. But the only real reason that it's mono black, one, it doesn't need to be any other colors, and two, it just makes casting your Invoke Despair even easier. So yeah, it's just a bunch of really strong, powerful cards. All right, the next deck along the list there has, I've only just sort of seen this cropping up in the last week, is the Selesnya Enchantments list. So we had runes in the last standard format, and that was Naya runes, and you had the dude that makes your runes cost one less.
Runeforged champion.
Yeah, paired with your Jukai Naturalist, and it made all your runes free, and you're just casting a million runes and giving your dudes haste and trample and all that sort of stuff. And that deck was pretty bonkers for quite a while, and it certainly was when we stopped playing Standard. But turns out there's actually quite a lot of that deck that has survived through into the current format. So yeah, this deck's sort of popping back up again, and it's certainly not as explosive and as powerful as the runes version was previously, but it can still have some really, really strong, fast starts and sort of really put that pressure on you. So yeah, we've got Generous Visitor, which is the 1-mana one that when you cast an enchantment, you put a counter on a creature. Spirited Companion, which is the enchantment dog that draws you a card. Cami of Transience. It's the 2/2 trample that when you cast an enchantment, you put a counter on it, and then you can bring it back from your graveyard. And one thing I've found with this, if you are playing against the enchantments deck, or I've found with mono red, often you're spending some of your burn spells to kill their creatures. If you wait until it triggers in either end step, so the way it's worded, at the beginning of each end step, if an enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you can return it from your graveyard to your hand. So if you wait until your end step or your opponent's end step, so you're actually in the end step, and then kill like a Jukai Naturalist, it doesn't trigger, because it's triggering at the beginning of the end step.
Yeah, you've already moved past that part of the phase.
And so, but then it doesn't trigger on the next end step either unless an enchantment dies. So think about your timing when you're killing their enchantments. Don't just fire off your removal willy-nilly. If you wait till the end step, you kill their enchantment, they don't get the trigger, they don't get their Cami back. For Jukai Naturalist is, sort of the glue of what's holding these decks together. Sky Blessed Samurai, I didn't know this card existed, but it's a 7-mana 4/4 with flying that costs 1 less to cast for each enchantment you control, which you're going to have quite a few of those. Commune with Spirits, searches for, or looks at the top 4 for lands or enchantments. Circle of Confinement, enchantment-based removal. Hold for Ransom, which I hadn't seen either, but it's another. It's basically like a pacifism with an extra ability.
It is.
Yep. Machiko's Reign of Truth, which we've seen previously. It's the one that flips into an enchantment that gets +1/+1 for the other enchantments you control. Touch the Spirit Realm, which is sort of the Oblivion Ring enchantment. Yep. And then Wedding Announcement, which again is another card that just sort of ties, or is almost sort of that glue that holds a lot of decks together by letting you draw extra cards and just putting creatures on the field. So a lot of just, again, solid cards that have a lot of synergy together and can lead to some very quick aggressive starts with creatures that sort of scale up and get quite large quite quick. So have you come across this much?
I have, actually, yeah. I've been running into it a little bit. And can I just say that Generous Visitor is a really stupid card, and I don't like it. Because I'm playing a counterspell deck, and it's a 1/1, which means it resolves before I have any interaction. And then they just cast spells, and it just gets huge. It's not even enters the battlefield.
You're playing Fading Hope, aren't you?
I mean, I am, but you got to find them. And it's Fading Hope of 1/1 always feels bad. Sometimes it's a 7/7 though. So you got to do it. That's the start, right? Like Generous Visitor into Spirited Companion or into Jukai Naturalist, and this thing is off to the races. I'm yet to see one of the Sky Blessed Samurais. I have come across the lists that are playing like Catilda, which is, a bunch of flying lifelink, and that kind of just pops off with the Wedding Announcement. It just making a bunch of spirits and then just get big real fast.
Yep.
And
there's also the Weaver of Harmony, which is a 2-mana 2/2 that enchantment lord, other enchantment creatures you control get +1/+1, and you can copy triggered abilities, activated triggered abilities. So you see people copying their draw a card off their Spirited Companion when it enters the battlefield and different things like that. So that's quite nice.
The gross one for that is the first 2 chapters of Michiko's Reign of Truth.
Yeah, yep.
And then there's just like, I would like to put a double set of +1/+1 counters, or +1/+1 on my trampling, Kami. Yeah, like this, when I was saying that mono black is really good, but some decks have got scarier starts, this one feels like it's got a scarier start than a mono black deck a lot of the time.
Yep. I do have to laugh at the mana base though. Like the first deck that we're looking at here is 10 plains, 8 forests, and 4 blossoming sands, the tapped lands that gain you 1 life.
Listen, all right.
Brushland's coming.
Man. Eventually they're getting Brushland. It'll be next set, and then this deck will get better. The other thing that this deck is packing is a surprising amount of removal, which was one thing that I just kind of wasn't prepared for the first time I played against it. I just wasn't really expecting them to have, it's just a sack of Circle of Confinements, which hits a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then, Hold for Ransoms. I got hit by that too. I had one of the Tolarian Serpents out, I was like, 5/5, Ward 2, take that. And then it's like, we're just going to pay 4 and your dude doesn't block. I was like, pretty annoying. And then, also the Touch of the Spirit Realm. Just, again, really good card. And you can channel it as well to do some stuff as well if you want to do that. So
yeah, you can also with the Weaver of Harmony, you can copy like the triggered abilities from your enchantments when they enter the battlefield. So like the Touch the Spirit Realm. Yeah, because it enters and then the trigger goes on the stack to target a creature or enchantment or whatever, and then you can copy that with your Weaver and then, take 2.
So is this deck busted? No. Is it? It's strong though, and I think it actually does pretty well against I wouldn't be surprised if it did quite well against the black decks, because you're gaining a lot of value, you're drawing a lot of cards. There's a lot of recursion. Like those Kamis just do keep coming back, and they are cheap. And then you've just got some sticky threats. Like you're just spitting out a bunch of vampires or drawing cards with Wedding Announcement. So it's doing its thing.
Solid deck. All right, next one down on the list is my favourite deck, Mono Red Aggro. But these lists are different to what I've been playing. If you want to know exactly what I've been playing, we posted up a video today on YouTube. Go and check it out. I sort of cut up my stream from earlier in the week where I broke down the deck and the cards I'm playing, and then spoke about it all, and then put on the gameplay. So took a 3.5 hour stream down to like an hour and 40 minutes, which is pretty good. And go and check that out. But my version is more the spells type version. But what we're sort of seeing more commonly is a much more creature based mono red. And initially, like when the format rotated, I didn't really think mono red was going to be good enough, especially with all the mid range sort of soup going on. It just was missing a few tools. But it's actually turned out to be surprisingly good. You can pile on the pressure pretty quickly, and you do have some powerful cards. And getting Lightning Strike, I think, was the big addition to Mono Red, because that card is just so good. I mean, can we please just have Lightning Bolt? No.
Bolt is actually too good. Yes, Lightning Strike is kind of the perfect power level for standard, and I'm always happy when it is in. Like it's really good to have. I've seen this particular top list a bunch of times as well. So they're playing. I mean, you're the Mono Red Master, Shorty. You want to tell us what's in there?
So we see varying amounts of Chandra dressed to kill the 3-mana Chandra. But the sort of the main creatures that we see: Phoenix Chicks, Bloodthirsty Adversaries, the Radha's Firebrand, which is the one it's a 2-mana 3/1 that when it attacks, target creature defending player controls with power less than Radha's Firebrand can't block this turn, and then it's got a domain ability that you're never gonna use. Reckless Stormseeker we've seen before. Squee, I've seen a bunch of Squees in various numbers. They're pretty good. 3-mana 2/2 haste that gives you a 1/1 goblin when it's attacking, and then you can bring it back from your graveyard. It's not bad. And then Thundering Raiju, which I haven't tried. I've played against it a few times, but can be quite strong. And then, you've just got your burn. You play with fires, your lightning strikes. Commander who faces Karkazan, just a very, very strong card. That card is just awesome. And then, some lists playing Hammerhand, which is a 1-mana enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. So that's a nice ability for a red aggressive deck that's trying to get through creatures. And then the creature has +1/+1 and haste. So you can sort of, you could put that on your Radha's Firebrand, makes it a 4/2.
Yeah, so I had someone do that to me. Didn't feel good on turn 3.
Something can't block from the Hammerhand coming in, and then when your Firebrand attacks, something else can't block. So that's quite good. And then I sort of see these pop up every now and then. The Shivan Devastator, which is the X and a red for a 0/0 flying with haste that enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So that thing's just sort of usually a 1 or a 2 of in these lists, just as a bit of a top end. I did see when the format sort of first rotated quite a few of these lists playing like Jaya as well in the main, but it seems like they've sort of moved away from that, and I think they're running that in the sideboard as I will be in my list as well. But it's solid. It's got some good aggressive creatures. It's got a bunch of hasty dudes. It can put on the pressure pretty quickly. It's got some recursive threats in your Squee and your Phoenix Chick. It has the reach that we sort of always talk about with the mono red, with the burn that can actually go to the face, which we've been missing for quite a while. And it's just sort of generally powerful. Chandra is actually quite a powerful planeswalker and has, a little bit of card advantage sort of built into it. And good solid deck.
Yeah, I no, exactly that. I think that sums it up really well. Like its fast starts are really scary. It does. Like, it does a really good job of applying the pressure. I think that, I mean, it, like we said, like, it has some weaknesses. Like, it doesn't quite have the power to go over the top. And it's interesting because I haven't seen any of that X-Dragon at all, which I'm surprised by. Okay. I just haven't come across it. Whether people just haven't had it to cast it.
It's normally only a 1 or a 2 of, so you're probably not seeing it that often.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's just does mono red things. I probably don't get to see it because I'm dead before they draw it. or I've counted every spell and they've given up on life. I don't know. One of those are the two outcomes.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, if you want to know more about mono red, go and check out the latest video on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and all that sort of stuff, because we have not many subscribers on YouTube for...
well, we haven't really done much of a focus on it. So we appreciate the encouragement.
Yes, definitely.
If you guys, sub there, then it makes us think we should do more there.
Yep. All right. So next list. I didn't even know this was a list.
No, me neither.
Not seen it at all. Mono white aggro. What is going on here?
If you look at the actual total number of matches, it's minuscule compared to some of the others.
Yeah, okay.
So like the top one here is 4,300. The mono red list we were just looking at was like 50,000 games, I think. 85,000 matches.
Yep.
So huge difference in terms of like the overall popularity, but apparently it's been popular today.
What's the highest win rate today?
True,
highest win
61.
Rating.
It's because no one's expecting it.
Yeah.
So Hopeful Initiates Hotshot Mechanic, which is a white for a 2/1, and it crews vehicles. No one cares about the second part. It's a 2-mana.
There's no vehicles in the list.
Guardian Juvenalia, the Intrepid Adversary, really, really strong card, actually. One of the main reasons I think you'd want to be in mono white. Thalia, I hate that thing. Adeline, again, excellent card. And then Anointed Peacekeeper, Brutal Cathar, and then Sarah Paragon. So going a little bit bigger. But that's the big Lurrus kind of thing where you can, once per turn, cast a permanent with a mana value or 3 or less from your graveyard. And that's a really strong ability. But like this list, man, is all creatures. 24 lands, 36 creatures.
Yeah.
The other list underneath it's changed it up so much, man. It's got 35 creatures, 2 instants, and 23 lands. They're playing a Valorous Stance and a Destroy Evil.
Yeah.
They mean it.
I mean, it's got powerful creatures. We've spoken about this before with mono white. Like, all the creatures just have abilities tacked onto them. You've got taxing abilities from Thalia, you've got Enters the Battlefield abilities from Anointed Peacekeeper and Brutal Cathar and that sort of thing. You're recurring things with your Sarah Paragon. You're pumping your dudes with your Intrepid Adversary. Like, there's a fair bit going on in your creature base to make up for not having any spells, but I can't get behind this.
I'm just not about that. I can't get behind
this list. No. Yeah.
Next.
I mean, I'm sure it's probably good. It's had a good couple of days, but yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes. Q next week where there's like 100,000 matches played with mono white and it's the top deck now and no one's playing mono black anymore.
I'm happy to be wrong. It happens a lot.
Yeah. All right, next list though, Cracker.
Oh, yeah.
This is what you're all about.
No, sort of. Delver. Yeah, mono blue Delver is definitely a deck you can play.
Speaking of low match numbers.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, 2,100. Like, it's definitely a significantly less sample size. And, I mean, that is reflected in terms of, like, the popularity as far as, like, total percentage. We're down into the single digits sort of thing here. So, definitely a lot less people playing it. There are a bunch of different lists, and I've tried several different things, and I still don't know what is correct. Yeah, I know you
I gave up and I went to mono red.
Yeah,
it did not work.
That's about what I expected. So look, these lists are, I mean, they're called Delver, so they've all got 4 copies of Delver, Haughty Djinn, and then some number of Tolarian Terrors, which is as good as I thought it would be when we were talking about it.
It can be, but it's like yes, a lot of the time you are getting it cheap. The big thing with it is you're not casting it on like turn 2 for 1 mana sort of thing.
No, you're not.
It's like you could in Modern or something like that. So you're casting it on turn 3 or 4 or whatever, and when you're getting to that point, the Ward 2 just kind of doesn't matter.
No, but it's just big.
It is, like, but it's got no It's just
No,
a
but it's a-
5/5.
No, okay. All right, mate. Listen, we're in mono blue, and a 5/5 is just important.
A 7-mana 5/5 in mono
Yes.
blue. Yep.
Correct.
Power-
That's exactly
power
right.
creep.
So then we've got like Considers Fading Hopes and Pick Your Poison as far as one of the many, many types of different counter spells there are. So Spell Pierce, Syncopate, Make Disappears, Negate, Atari's Scorn, people playing Thirst for Discovery. There's a lot of different things you can do in that space. So the lists I've been playing actually don't have any any Delvers. It's got like 4 Djinns and it had like 1 Terror, and I cut a land to play another Terror because Mono 1 has got that. Mono 1, Best of 1 has got the hand smoothing algorithm. So you end up not getting pinched on lands quite as often as you would in Best of 3. So Best of 3, I'd probably want to go back up to another land, I think, on my list. But this deck is... I've actually found it harder to play than other iterations of these decks. So the first one I started playing actually had the Drake, that when you target it with a spell, that it's the Stormtress Drake.
Storm. Yep. I've tried
and
that
then
one.
I was also playing like Shore Ups, the Hexproof and +1, Slip Out the Backs. You're playing Combat Research, and I was playing Ledger Shredders, and I just couldn't buy a win, man.
That's the exact experience I had.
I just couldn't. The problem I found with it, and like obviously some people are having some success, is that you need an early threat and then you need protection. But even when you had those things, you couldn't do everything, and you couldn't apply enough pressure.
No.
Like you can flip, like Delver flipping is good, but at the same time, like a Tenacious Underdog is a 3/2 for 2 mana, and they just keep getting it back. Like that's kind of the same sort of thing. So I was really struggling with it, and the fact that you weren't playing any Djinns just wasn't really working. So the list I've been playing, which was the one you posted the other day for me actually, and made a couple little changes, is actually been much stronger. But man, it's hard to play. Like you just have to know when to take your beating. I was playing against Mono Black before the cast actually, and I just kept getting attacked. They had 2 Trespassers and a Bankbuster in play, and they were just beating me down. But I managed to keep other things off the board, and eventually I got to play a Djinn. And the cost reduction side of that, man, do not underestimate that, because that turns it's amazing. It turns Atari's. I don't know what you
Urtai?
Yeah, let's go with that. It turns that into just Urtai's Scorn, just straight into counterspell.
Yep.
Blue, counter target spell. And it's cost blue less if an opponent has cast 2 or more spells this turn. So the amount of times that you're casting actual, might as well just be Flusterstorm or something like that, like you're just countering a spell for a single blue mana, is huge. And then Negates for blue, Syncopates costing you effectively 1, or 1 and 2. Like it's really good. So and then it was literally like, I play this, I protect it for a turn, I attack you for 13. It was just 2 attacks and then the game was over. So the way that this punches is better than Tempest Djinn ever did, because you never wanted to play that many lands. So Tempest Djinn would be like a 5 power thing, sometimes 6 if you're flooding out a little bit and you felt bad for yourself. But this thing is just like,
it's way better.
Attacks, it's just massively better. So
yep.
Is it good?
No.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know that it's bad. It's better than it's been in a long time. Let's just go with that. I'm having fun, but there aren't free wins. You got to work for them.
No, when Tempest Djinn was in Standard, you could play you had your couple of 1-drops that you could play. You could put a Curious Obsession on it, and you could just protect them, and that was enough. And you would get all the early damage in beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this list I'm playing is just not that at all.
No.
There's no early game.
Yeah, the cost reduction with Haughty Djinn on Thirst for Discovery is very nice, and
really good. And Impulse
Syncopate,
as well.
Syncopate exiling. That's one thing that people forget.
Yep,
Syncopate exiles the spell that's countered. So exiling, the Tenacious Underdog. I just forget that card's name all the time. Yeah, exiling cards like that is really good.
The other card I'm playing a couple of copies of is March of the Swirling Mists.
Yep.
And that is just that's the one that will just buy you that turn you need. Sometimes you just need to fog for a turn to be able to, untap and just get set up and kind of take over at that point. But that's really excellent. And again, the discount on it is fantastic. The amount of times I've stuffed up casting that on my phone, many times not targeting things properly, and you just submit. I don't want to exile any blue cards, and you click submit 0, and then you bump it again, and you've submitted 0 targets, and you're dead. Good work, Joel.
Nice. All right, the next deck along the list is one that's new. Like we've had this in the past, but completely different version. So this is Gruul Aggro, and this is pretty low on the number of matches played as well. But I have seen this starting to become more popular, and I know Chewy's been playing this one as well, and it's quite strong. So it's got a ton of cards from Dominaria United. Like we're running Phoenix Chicks, we've got the Shivan Devastator we spoke about before, Ascendant Pack Leader, which we've seen in the past, which gets big pretty quickly in this sort of list. Lanoir Loam Speaker, which is from Dominaria as well, which is a 2-mana 1/3 mana dork, but then it can turn a land into a 3/3. Quirion Beastcaller. This thing is a pain in the backside for mono red. It's a 2-mana 2/2 that when you cast a creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's just casting the creature spell, you get the counter. And then when it dies, you can distribute its counters among any number of targets. So, they cast a few creatures, it turns into a 6/6, you kill it, and then they get those 4 counters spread across its other creatures. Got the Yavimaya Iconoclast, which is a 2-mana 3/2 with Trample. We play that one in draft, but it's got kicker of a single red, so it turns it into a 3-mana 3/2 Trample. But when you kick it, it gets +1/+1 and haste till end of turn. So it's a 4/3 haste Trample for 3 mana, which is pretty nice. Thundering Raiju we've seen before. That works quite well in this deck because you get a lot of things getting counters. And Halana and Alena Partners. This thing is just very annoying. We've seen it before, but again, just putting a bunch of counters on different things and giving creatures haste and whatever. Kamano, because that just goes very well in this deck. And then, you get like Karplusan Forests in your mana base as well, so the mana's actually quite good. So just good, solid beatdown. And I've come across this deck a few times in mono red, and it's not too bad because I'm running a ton of burn, so I can keep their creatures off the field and just sort of get in with my chip damage. But if you're playing any sort of slower deck or probably mono blue or something like that, you do not want to be facing decks like these. They just put big creatures on the field with haste and punch you in the face really quickly. So keep an eye out for Gruul Aggro. If you're into your slightly bigger aggro decks, then this is a good place to be starting, I reckon.
Yeah, I haven't run across it yet, but I can see I can see the appeal to it.
Yeah, definitely. Next deck on the list, I know everyone knows how much you love Teferi, Cracker.
He's the best planeswalker.
He's not in all these lists, but we're at the Azorius control now, and I'm surprised we're not seeing more of this deck. Like, as we said earlier, when you've got that real heavy mid-range meta, normally control can just come in and go, yeah, okay, you can have your nice mid-range deck, but I'm just going to take control of the game and enact my long game plan and win the game. So I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it, and it's taken a while to come out, but we're starting to see a bit more of it now. So what are we seeing in the blue-white decks?
I mean, Wandering Emperors and Farewells seem like a pretty good combination. And then counterspells and removal spells. Sorry, I felt like I was going to sneeze there. So Fateful Absence, Impulses, Scorns, Devious Cover-Up, which we've seen before, Deluge in some lists. There's the Khan's Silex, apparently, is a thing that people are doing, which makes sense, right? It's the slow Oblivion Stone, I think is what people call it, Pay X and exile it, and it destroys each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. But again, like Onboard Sweeper, seems good. I haven't actually run across this myself yet. Have you come across it?
Like once or twice, not very often, and like the deck I'm playing is just super aggressive, so they just haven't.
Don't care.
No, they just haven't done enough to slow me down and just run them over. But yeah, like things like Farewell and that sort of stuff, and Wandering Emperor that's exiling creatures. Same with I know Fateful Absence doesn't exile, that destroys, but yeah, a few different exiling removal spells and syncopate to counter things is kind of what you want to be doing with against the mono black. So Yeah, I never know. I'm not a control player. I have played control on occasion, but the thought of building a control deck to beat a metagame just no no chance. So if you give me a control deck that you're like, yep, this is all set up and tuned for the meta, I'll play it and I'll do fine. But no, it's kind of not where my brain's at. So yeah, we're not seeing a ton of it. It is, it's 7th on our list today. For popularity, 4.6%, and win rate for today is 8th place. So yeah, it's not exactly setting the world on fire. So,
well, if mono red and mono white are super popular at the moment, then yeah, I can see how that's going to be a problem. And just mono black stripping your hand. I think that the control deck can be built once the metagame is settled to do really well. Like you said, that's the sort of thing that can be tuned.
Yeah. All right. And Esper.
Yeah.
What is going on in Esper?
Still really good. It's just a Rafine deck, man. Just a Rafine deck, he said. Playing lots of Rafines. It's excellent. It's so hard for you to kill as well. 4 toughness. Oh, yeah. And then just gets
the ward.
Big. Yeah,
like 4 toughness means either they need to have blocked something and then I can finish it with a removal spell or a burn spell, or I have to spend 2 burn spells to kill it and having to pay the ward 1 on each of those spells.
5 mana just to get rid. And they've always got another one. They just play another one afterwards. Also playing like Kaitos, Wandering Emperors in various numbers. This one's interesting. It's got like Fairy Vandals and things, which I haven't seen. I've seen lists kind of like the second one down where they're playing like Underdogs and some Sarah Paragons and a few other things. And then just good removal spells. They get cut downs, destroy evils, make disappear. I got absolutely blown out by a Disdainful Stroke last night. I just was not expecting Disdainful Stroke in the main, and my poor Tolarian Terror just was countered. I felt so. I was like, they've got like negate. That's funny. No, they didn't. Anyway, so yeah, look, really strong. Rafine is a house. I mean, it has been since it entered in Streets and just continues to be. It's just the best thing for the rate, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, it's very solid. And Esper, like as soon as you branch into 3 colours, unless you're playing, like the Runes deck, where it is a very specific, these are the cards you play, this type of deck is you build it however you want it. And there's a bunch of different versions with different styles. You can be really controlling and basically just sort of running off Rafine and Wandering Emperor and that sort of thing with a ton of counter spells and removal, or, a bit more creature-based. And, I've seen a bunch of lists with cards like Denic, which is a 2-mana 2/3 with lifelink that has cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities, and it has a disturb side as well. So sort of a few different things going on with that. I've seen people playing like the top list we've got here that has the Resolute Reinforcements, which is a draft card, the 1 and a white 1/1 with flash that enters the battlefield and creates a token as well. Good Liliana protection. When you've got just a Rafine on the field and they minus their Liliana, you can flash in a Resolute Reinforcements and just sack a token, or flash in a Fairy Vandal and sack that. So yeah, there's a few different ways of doing things with Esper, but it's quite powerful, but it is mostly centered around Rafine, which is not surprising because that is a very powerful card. And we saw that in the last standard. There was quite a few Esper decks getting around based on Rafine, so
yeah, we did.
Not surprising. Yep. And they're basically always running 4 of Wedding Announcement as well, because, again, that just churns out tokens, which gives you fodder for Liliana and different things like that.
Well, and it triggers as well. So Rafine is whenever it's for Connive's X, where X is the number of attacking creatures.
Yeah.
So you just want tokens because, I mean, you want to flip with Wedding Announcement, right? You just attack with a munch, or you don't care if it's just attacking and they die, because it's just more triggers. Just makes Rafine even better. The mana base is interesting. They did get 2 of the Pain lands, which is pretty good. So they got the Caves of Koilos and also the Adakar Wastes.
Yeah.
They didn't get the blue-black one, which will be coming in the next set, so that will get better. But they also do have one of the Triomes. Yeah, which makes a really big difference in terms of the mana base to keep that going.
Yeah. You got Triomes, and then you've got the slow lands or whatever they're called, the enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. So yeah, it's not that hard to have a mana base that works in those colours, which is good. All right, so that's sort of the top 8 from Untapped, but there are other lists that we're certainly seeing around, and that was, as a reminder, that was best of one. So we're going to have a quick look at a few lists from the MTG Goldfish meta, and there's... Have you seen this, the Jund Windgrace list? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Have you seen this list?
I think I've played against it once, but I've certainly seen the lists around, like I've seen people talking about it. It's interesting. It's just a pile of Jund cards. Right? Like, I don't know. It looks like people just went, well, I need the best card at this mana value. What's it going to be? I'll take some Blood Tithe Harvesters and Tenacious Underdogs. Okay, what are my 3-drops going to be? Well, I'm going to have some Graveyard Trespassers and some Fable of the Mirror Breakers. All right, what have we got after that? Like, it seems really strong, but it is very Jundy.
Yeah. The lists I've seen a few of, like the actual Windgrace ones, have Soul of Windgrace, which is a card from Dominaria United that's a 4 mana, like 1 and Jund for 5/4 when it enters the battlefield or attacks. You can put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and then it's got 3 abilities. So you can pay green, discard a land, and you gain 3 life. You can pay 1 and a red, discard a land, and you draw a card, or 2 and a black, discard a land, and it gains indestructible until end of turn, and you tap it. So it's playing all the lands from Streets that were the ones that they enter the battlefield and you sack them straight away, and then you go and get a swamp, a mountain, or a forest sort of thing. So it's pretty easy to have lands in your graveyard, and then you're basically just bringing them back and recycling them either to get more lands or use that value. But yeah, Jund's interesting. I don't see it being any better than... to be honest, I don't see it being any better than Mono Black. Like, you just
goes bigger, man. Like, I think that's
it does, but I just don't think it's better. Like, the things that it's doing when it's bigger is, I don't think it's actually worth it. Well, not from what I've seen, because it is quite slow.
Titan is a house. It is definitely slow, and I think that's where it may struggle a little bit. But I don't know. I find that I tend to underestimate these piles. Like, it happened with like our leagues a couple of times with like the Grixis vampire things, and I'm like, this is just a pile of cards, and like there's no deep synergy where you go, oh, Mono Black is just, it is the best cards in the best deck, and it is super consistent because it's just black. It's just all there is to it, right? Or like, you know, some synergy based thing or whatever, or like a control thing. It's just like, okay, like, here are the things, but these decks always just look like piles to me, and they always just do way better than I think they're going to. So, I don't know.
There's Grixis. So, Grixis, we're seeing similar cards to what we got in all the other ones.
I'm shocked.
But when you go Grixis, you get Corpse Appraiser, which is a pretty solid card. We've seen that from Streets as well. You also get access to Rona's Vortex, so you can kick that and put cards on the bottom of your library. You know, Fable of Mirror Breaker, Meathook Massacre, all that sort of thing. So again, it's pick your flavor of black cards and what you sort of want to pair with it.
Yeah, and Vaulted Surge, I think, is a really good pickup for the Grixis decks as well. Just with the blood tokens you got kicking around from Blood Tithe, being able to deal 4
and treasures from Fable.
Yeah, exactly. It can be a really big deal to be able to just have that little extra point of damage.
Yeah, yep. Then there's just straight Rakdos, which we've seen before.
Sure, nothing new, nothing to talk about there.
No, nothing else. And then I don't have a list here, but I have seen a few Bant decks getting around. Have you seen many of those?
I've seen lists. I don't know that I've come across one.
Okay.
So...
like I've seen like Storm the Festival, Ren and Seven, Wandering Emperor, that sort of thing, with a little bit of ramp from the various cards that we've had over the last few sets. Nothing new really creeping into it. It's just sort of powerful cards that we've seen before, and some people trying to sort of ramp up to the Titan. So
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like pick your engine, right? Like pick the couple of cards that everyone wants to build around, and then, you know, like just the support. But I think, you know, if you had to define, like, you know, the top couple of cards from each color, it would be pretty easy to just, you know, fill out all of standard from there. And it's nice because it feels like there are pretty much like top cards in each color. It doesn't feel like anything is super underrepresented. Mono red is interesting because like the best card is Fable, which is not really like a mono red card.
No.
It's definitely like a mid-range card, but again, like you've got some other really aggressive things in there. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm about this standard. I'm having a lot of fun playing it. Like winning or losing, I find that they're actually like really interesting games, and there's enough variance in what my opponent is doing that it's interesting. Now, whether that will change, probably, because, you know, things always do. You know, it gets solved in quotes. But I'm having fun for the moment.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm actually pretty interested in Standard and pretty excited about our league that's going to come up, and I will be continuing to jam Mono Red, which makes me happy. So the fact that I can do that people. And be competitive is good for me. But yeah, I mean, when I'm streaming my league matches anyway, it's free metagame against me. Go for it. It just makes it funnier when I still win, because it's like, well, you're hard metagamed against me and I still beat you. So
face up, get wrecked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, speaking about League, that is coming up very soon. We have the live draw, which is coming up on this Monday, which will be the 26th. So, a few days from today, because of the, we've got the grand final long weekend here in Melbourne, and we obviously had the Queen's Memorial Day off today. So, we decided we'd push it back a couple of days because, you know, everyone's away. Everyone's taken advantage of the long weekend, which makes a lot of sense. So we'll be doing the live draw, and so there's still a few more days and chances for you to register for that. So please go check out our challenge page. Currently, we've got 41 people registered, which is pretty good size.
Yep.
We'll usually end up with a few more, hopefully, you know, in the 50 kind of range, maybe a few more than that. And these leagues are always heaps of fun. They are a round robin, so you get split into groups, and then you play against everyone inside your group, and then the top two, well, depending on how many groups we have, that will change based on...
We're already over 40, so we're at 8 groups.
Right, there you go. So it'll be the top 2 people from each of the group stages will then progress through to a top 16, and we do like a double elimination bracket, we stream the finals and do all that sort of stuff, and there are prizes, right? Envy points. It is your last chance to rack up those points for the Invitational, which is coming up very soon. And if you just, you know, crush it, which we've seen people do, people jump in, first leg out, just win through and then auto-qualify for the Envy. So it's not done yet, and the standings are really tight for everyone else. So people are going to be fighting pretty hard for these last few points, I think. But then there's just like straight cash prizes, right? We pay out from Josh and Pat's. Thank you, Josh and Pat. You know, they help us with, you know, like we've got product that we give away and also just, you know, cash. So come hang out. It's free to enter. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of banter. We all give each other a hard time. And you can also just, you know, lose to Shorty on stream while he's playing Mono Red. It's great.
Or you can just beat me on stream.
Or that too, which is even better.
Yep, 100%. All right, so yeah, that will be this Monday night around 9 p.m. We'll do that, and then the league will kick off straight away, and it'll be a 4-week group stage for this one with the finals on the 5th of November. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's going to do us for this week, Cracker. Hopefully everyone got a bit of an idea of what's going on in Standard, and they can start crafting those decks for the league and start heading up those ladder games. But that's going to do us. Usual wrap up. If you want to get in on all these events and the different things that we do and just be part of our awesome community, come and join us in our Discord. There is a link, as always, in the show notes for that. There's also links in the show notes for our merch store. We've got the upcoming event in Sydney towards the end of November, so it'd be sweet to see a bunch of people. There's been a lot of chatter of all the different people that are going up there. It'd be awesome to see everyone in some Beans gear, so go and grab yourself some of that. Don't leave it too late. Go and check out Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Grab a bargain on their daily auctions. Just go to jpmtgbazaar.com.au and that'll take you straight to the Facebook group. If you want to find us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or any of those places, just search for Magic Beans or Magic Beans Cast and you will find us there. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at Peace Inc. You are, Cracker?
At Joel Hill _.
Very good. So that's it for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.